Hi, boys and girls. Happy Thursday. We're going to wrap up our review of topic 2 by looking at 2 sevens, subtracting across zeros using the standard algorithm. This tends to be a place where students do still make mistakes. So I think it's really good that we're spending some time today practicing. So I'm going to review just a couple of problems with you and then a word problem, then you'll be on your way. Okay? So very often students still seem to get this incorrect. If I have 0, I can't take 8 away from 0, right? So 0 minus 8 doesn't give me 8. It doesn't work that way. So I can't subtract this. I go to my neighbor, right? I want to borrow. My neighbor doesn't have anything. I need to borrow. So I go to the next neighbor. I still need to borrow, and there's nothing there. So I'm going to go to the final neighbor, and I'm going to borrow. So I'm going to cross this out, and this is going to become a 5. But because I'm so generous and I know all my neighbors need something, as I come back to my house, my first 0 here, I'm going to give back, right? So the one that I borrowed, I give to here. But I need that one, so it's going to cross out and become a 9. Okay? I'm going to give to this neighbor, but I need that one. So I'm going to cross this out, and it becomes a 9, right? And then I finally get the one that I need. Now, a mistake that students often make, they get so excited to cross out and make 9s, they cross this last one out and make it a 9, okay? No. All right, so now I can subtract. 10 minus 8 gives me 2. 9 minus 7 gives me 2. 9 minus 6 gives me 3. I don't forget my comma. And then 5 minus 4 is 1. Okay, so the difference is 1,322. Okay, let's try this one. We have 90,100 minus 87,670. I could do 0 minus 0. It equals 0. Oftentimes students, I think, get so excited to start borrowing, they forget that you don't have to borrow for this part, right? 0 minus 0 is going to be 0. But now I have 0 minus 7, and I can't do that. So I'm going to borrow from my neighbor. My neighbor does have something. Neighbor has a 1. So I'm going to cross out the 1, and it becomes a 0. The one that I borrowed comes right here. Now I could do 10 minus 7, which gives me 3. Okay? Now here I have my 0. I have 0 minus 6. I can't do that. So I'm going to go next door to my neighbor. My neighbor doesn't have anything either. It's a 0. So I'm going to go to the 9. I'm going to borrow from the 9, and the 9 is going to become an 8. I'm so generous, and I'm going to give 1 to my neighbor, but I still need to borrow. So that then becomes a 9. And the one that I borrowed comes to me here that I need. 10 minus 6 is 4. Don't forget your comma. 9 minus 7 is 2. And 8 minus 8 is 0. So 2,430. All right. Wow, we have a lot of zeros to borrow across in this last example. So let's just remember, I can't do 0 minus 9, so I need to borrow. I go to my neighbor, can't borrow. Go to my neighbor, can't borrow. Go to my neighbor, can't borrow. Guess what? Go to this neighbor, can't borrow. So finally, I go to the 1 in the 100,000s place, and I can borrow. That becomes a 0. Now I'm going to give the 1 to here, but I need to borrow. So this then becomes a 9. And I give the 1 here. This then becomes a 9. And I give the 1 here. This then becomes a 9. I give the 1 here. This then becomes a 9. And all of that work, I finally get the 1 all the way over. And now I can do my subtraction. So 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 0 is 9. 9 minus 6 is 3. Comma. 9 minus 8 is 1. 9 minus nothing is 9. And then nothing minus nothing. So 91,391. Okay? All right. So let's look at it in the form of a word problem. One passenger flew 11,033 kilometers from Oslo to Lima. Another flew 8,593 kilometers from Oslo to Los Angeles. How many more kilometers was the flight to Lima? So I underlined how many more because that's my clue to let me know that I'm doing subtraction. All right, they want me to find the difference between the mileage to Lima opposed to the mileage to Los Angeles, okay? So I'm going to subtract 11,033 minus 8,593. So I can do 3 minus 3. That gives me 0. All right, sometimes we start borrowing when we don't need to because we're just so used to it. 3 minus 9 I can't do. I go to my neighbor, it's a 0, I can't borrow. So I'm going to go to the 1. The 1's going to become a 0. And I'm so generous, I'm going to give to this neighbor because I know they need some. But I still need to borrow. So that 10 becomes a 9. And the 3 becomes 13. 13 minus 9 is 4. 9 minus 5 is 4. Comma. Now here I have a 0. Can I do 0 minus 8? No. So I'm going to go next door and borrow from this 1. It becomes a 0. And I add the 1 to the 0, making it 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. Okay? So the difference in the mileage is 2,440, let's label it, kilometers. All right? So boys and girls, you're going to work through some problems today where you're subtracting across zeros. It could be 1 0 you're subtracting across. It could be 4 or 5 zeros. All right? So you're just going to practice this strategy today. All right? Great job, everybody. Can't wait for a fun Friday. This works sometimes.